Imagine this. You spend your entire life chasing success, beauty, love, and then, on your deathbed, you suddenly realize you never actually lived. Not fully, not consciously, not once.
Goethe believed this is the greatest tragedy of the human spirit. And Pierre Hadot exposes why most of us are sleepwalking through our days, repeating habits that aren't even ours.
But here's the shocking twist. Goethe didn't just write poetry and philosophy. He practiced daily spiritual exercises to fight against this slow, quiet death. Exercises designed to wake you up, to shock your soul back into life.
Today we explore these forgotten practices, how Goethe trained his mind like a warrior trains his body, and how these ancient techniques might be the only thing standing between you and a life wasted in distraction.
If you think you're living, Goethe would say, you're not. Not yet. But you can start today.
Hello, everyone. Hi, all. Welcome to Book Podcast Zone.
I'm Emma, and I'm really excited to get into this today because it feels incredibly urgent.
And I'm John. And yes, urgent is the right word. We're looking at Pierre Hadot's work on Goethe, and it's less a historical analysis and more of a rescue manual for the modern mind.
Okay, so let's frame this deep dive for everyone. Our mission is to unpack Hadot's analysis of what he calls Goethe's spiritual exercises. These aren't just ideas he wrote about. They were daily practices, things he actually did to shape his consciousness.
Exactly. We're moving beyond Goethe the poet or the statesman and looking at Goethe the spiritual practitioner. And the scope here is, well, it's a guide to conscious living. Hadot distills it down to 4 core practices that were designed to fight what Goethe saw as the ultimate tragedy, an unlived life.
And the parallel is just sitting right there, isn't it? The restlessness and the information overload of the 18th century feels, in a weird way, very similar to the digital distraction of our time.
It's the same problem with a different interface. Which brings us to the core conflict, the thing that's so fascinating here. You have this towering genius, Goethe, a man who was wildly productive, always involved in something, love affairs, scientific research, running a state.
You'd think he was the last person who needed help being present. You'd assume he was just naturally switched on all the time.
And that's the illusion.
Yeah.
Hadot just shatters it. He shows that even Goethe, this titan of intellect and creativity, felt the pull of what we might call the default mode, the tendency to just drift, to sleepwalk through the hours.
So he needed these exercises. He had to actively train like an athlete just to stay awake to his own life.
That's the revelation. Consciousness isn't a gift, it's a discipline. It's a daily, sometimes moment-to-moment, fight against our own mental habits.
Okay.
So let's get into the first and most fundamental part of that training.
The anchor.
The anchor. This is where it all begins.
So let's start with that foundation, worshiping the now. The title of this section comes from Goethe himself, right? The present is the only goddess I adore.
That's right. And Hadot, in his first chapter, really emphasizes how radical a statement that was and still is. Goethe made a conscious choice to crown the immediate moment, the right here, right now, as the supreme value in his life.
It sounds simple, but it's really not. I mean, our entire culture is geared toward the future. Save for retirement, plan your career, work for the weekend, get ready for the vacation. The present is almost treated as just an obstacle to get through.
A stepping stone. And Goethe saw that as a form of spiritual death. Hadot describes how Goethe would practice this. It wasn't just a vague intention. Imagine him in the middle of a chaotic day at the Weimar court with, political dramas, scientific papers to review, maybe a difficult personal letter to write.
Total chaos.
Total chaos. And he would intentionally stop everything. And he would focus his entire being on a single sensation. The way the light from the window was hitting the inkwell on his desk, the feeling of the air on his skin, a single breath.
It's a deliberate interruption of the forward momentum.
It's a fierce interruption, and that's the exercise. It's the conscious choice to anchor himself in the physical, sensory reality of the now, pulling his mind back from the future's anxieties and the past's regrets.
I love how Hadot details this link between the trivial and the ideal. It wasn't about Goethe waiting for some epic mountaintop experience to feel alive.
No, quite the opposite. He believed that if you couldn't find the profound in the mundane, you'd never truly experience the profound at all. He treated, and this is a quote Hadot highlights, ordinary seconds as being charged with sacred fire.
Sacred fire. That's such a powerful image. It's not just noticing the coffee cup, it's seeing the miracle of it, the heat, the aroma, the craftsmanship. It's an act of infusion.
Exactly. You're not waiting for life to happen to you. You're meeting it with an intensity of attention that makes the moment sacred. This completely flips the script on our modern obsession with, say, productivity hacks.
Right. Let's talk about a U.S. example. The daily commute. It's almost a cliche of American life, this dead time you have to suffer through. 45 minutes, an hour, stuck in traffic or on a crowded train.
And the default is to fill it. Podcasts, audiobooks, mentally rehearsing the workday, scrolling through social media. We treat it as a void to be plugged.
But the Goethean practice would be to transform it, to turn the commute into an observation exercise. You consciously decide, for the next 10 minutes, I am going to be a pure observer. You notice the weird, wonderful details of the houses you pass. You study the faces on the subway, the little microdramas playing out.
You notice the changing seasons in a way you haven't since you were a child? The specific shade of yellow on the autumn leaves in a Chicago park? Or the way the afternoon light hits the skyscrapers in downtown LA? You reclaim that time. You live it instead of just enduring it.
And this is where, as Hadot points out, the gut-wrench moment can happen, the sudden, awful realization of just how much you've been missing.
It's a real wake-up call. If you try this, if you really try to be present for even 5 minutes, you realize how untamed your mind is, how it constantly jumps away. And then you start to wonder, how many thousands of hours of my life have I just slept through while my eyes were open?
That's a terrifying thought, that the days just blur into this gray, unremembered fall.
And that's what Goethe was fighting against. Hadot says he used a kind of sensory journaling, not here's what I did today, but here's what I sensed today. Cataloging the smell of rain on dry earth, the texture of a book's binding, the exact taste of a pear. It's a training regimen for the senses.
It makes me think about the modern concept of flow, that state of being so absorbed in a task that time disappears. Is this the same thing?
That's a great question, and I think Hadot would say no. It's related, but different in a crucial way. Flow is often task-oriented. It's about losing yourself in an activity to achieve peak performance, to dissolve into the doing.
It's a byproduct of action.
Right. But Goethe's practice is about finding yourself in the moment. It's a practice of being. It's not about being more productive while you wash the dishes. It's about making the act of washing the dishes a moment of full conscious existence. It has an ethical and existential weight that a simple productivity technique lacks.
And that's radical, especially in a culture like the one in the US, which is so deeply rooted in this hustle mentality. In places like Silicon Valley or Wall Street, the present is almost seen as a liability.
It's time not being optimized for future gain. Your lunch break is for networking or catching up on emails. Your weekend is for getting a head start on next week. The present is constantly being sacrificed on the altar of future success.
And Hadot's analysis of Goethe is basically saying, that's a fool's bargain. You're trading the only thing you actually have, this moment, for a future that is never guaranteed, and even if it arrives, you won't know how to live in it because you've never practiced.
You'll arrive at the destination and realize you missed the entire journey. And not just missed it, but you intentionally ignored it. So this first practice is the anchor. It's the non-negotiable foundation. The present isn't just a point in time, it's your only point of contact with reality.
It's your anchor in the whirlwind, a way to stop the spinning. I think that's a perfect place to pause for a moment.
Like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
Okay, so we've established the anchor, the practice of worshiping the now. But, sometimes the now is overwhelming, sometimes the present moment is filled with anxiety or pain. Just being present with that can be too much.
Absolutely. And Goethe and the philosophical tradition he drew from, they understood that. The anchor is essential, but you also need a way to get some distance. You need perspective.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the second major exercise Hadot identifies.
This is the one I find so cinematic. The view from above, soaring perspectives.
It is cinematic. It's an exercise of pure imagination. Hadot explains that Goethe would practice mentally zooming out. He'd start with his immediate situation, his town, his country, and then just keep pulling back. Out, 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 until he was viewing the Earth as a tiny, fragile blue marble suspended in the infinite blackness of space.
Like a mental drone shot that just keeps going higher.
A cosmic drone shot, exactly. And the specific goal of this exercise was to shrink his worries, to take a problem that felt all-consuming in life or death up close, and to place it against the backdrop of the cosmos, where it would inevitably be reduced to its true size. A tiny, insignificant speck.
I can just picture him. Maybe he's in Italy, struggling with a piece of writing, feeling like a failure, and instead of just grinding away at it, he takes a walk, sits on a hill, and performs this exercise. He imagines the millennia it took for that hill to form.
He thinks about the Roman legions that marched through that same valley. He looks up at the stars and contemplates their silent, indifferent eternity.
Mm.
And suddenly, his writer's block or his broken heart doesn't vanish, but its power to tyrannize him is broken.
It's a shift from being crushed by the problem to feeling hugged by the universe. The scale of everything else is so vast it becomes comforting.
That's the emotional pivot. But, and this is important, we have to address the obvious criticism here. Isn't this just a form of avoidance? Or spiritual bypassing? If I'm worried about paying my rent, telling myself we're all just stardust can feel, well, a little insulting to the reality of my problem.
That's a really important point. It could feel like you're just dismissing real-world suffering.
Right. And Hadot is careful to show that this wasn't about denial for Goethe or for the Stoics, who were masters of this technique. The goal isn't to pretend the problem isn't real. The rent is still due. The goal is to achieve equanimity. It's about reducing the problem's emotional monopoly over your consciousness.
So it's not my problem doesn't matter, it's my problem is not the only thing that matters.
Precisely. You move from feeling trapped by the four walls of your anxiety to seeing that your anxiety is just one small house in an infinite landscape. The feeling is one of liberation, of creating mental space. That throat-tight awe you feel when you look at a truly dark, starry sky, that feeling physically pushes out the anxiety.
It's a repositioning of the self, from the center of the universe to a participant in it.
And Hadot stresses the mechanics. This isn't a fleeting thought. It's a deliberate, sustained, imaginative exercise. You have to really feel the vastness. You have to actively hold the image of deep time or deep space in your mind until you feel a physiological shift. It's mental resistance training.
We have so many tools for this today that Goethe could only dream of. We can literally pull up a live feed from the International Space Station on our phones. We see those images of Earth, but we see them as data or as cool screensavers.
We don't use them as spiritual tools. We don't sit with them and allow them to recalibrate our sense of scale. Think about a common American anxiety, like the outcome of a national election. The level of stress and division can become all-consuming. It feels like the fate of the world hangs in the balance every single day.
It can completely dominate your mental landscape.
And a Goethean exercise would be to hold that real, valid anxiety and then mentally place it on the globe. And then pull back. See the United States as just one part of a planet teeming with 8 billion other stories. Pull back further and see the planet itself, with its weather systems and its deep blue oceans, silent and beautiful.
And from that perspective, the political shouting match becomes, what? A tiny, frantic buzz on the surface of that silent sphere.
Again, it doesn't mean the election is unimportant, but it prevents it from hijacking your entire nervous system, or take professional burnout. When you're in it, your job feels like everything. A missed deadline feels like a world-ending catastrophe.
The view from above for that would be to picture the entire history of human work. People building pyramids, sailing ships across unknown oceans, farming fields by hand. And your spreadsheet, in that context, becomes manageable. It becomes what it is, a task, not the definition of your existence.
It restores proportion. That's the key. Hadot is showing us how Goethe used this as a tool to maintain his sanity and his creative freedom. He couldn't let the small, petty dramas of the court or the anxieties of his work derail his larger purpose.
So Hadot basically gives us wings. He says you don't have to physically escape your problems to get perspective on them. You can take this cosmic journey anytime, anywhere, just by using your imagination.
And once you have that cosmic perspective, you're ready to come back down to Earth and look at the actual forces that shape your now much smaller life. You're ready to navigate.
It's like you've gone to the mountaintop to see the whole map of the territory, and now you're coming back down to walk the path.
Exactly. And that path is governed by some very specific, powerful currents.
Like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
So we've anchored ourselves in the present moment, and we've used the view from above to get perspective. Now, we dive into what might be the most complex and practical of Goethe's exercises, understanding the forces that shape us.
This is from Chapter 3 of Hadot's work, focusing on Goethe's poem, The Urwort, which translates to something like primal words or primal forces, right?
That's right. And Hadot presents this not just as a piece of poetry, but as a diagnostic tool, a framework for understanding why your life is the way it is. Goethe didn't see fate as some single steamrolling force. He broke it down into 5 distinct interacting currents.
And understanding these currents is the key to no longer being just a victim of circumstance.
Precisely. The imagery here is Goethe in his old age, a man who had seen it all: fame, love, profound loss, political turmoil. And he's not writing with despair. He's writing like a scientist, classifying the forces that had shaped him. His pen becomes a kind of navigational instrument.
So let's break down these 5 forces. What's the first one?
The first is daemon. This is your inner genius, your innate character. It's the unique blueprint you're born with, your talents, your temperament, your fundamental nature. It's the part of you that is uniquely you, your personal calling.
Okay, so that's the internal fixed starting point.
Correct. The second force is chance. This is everything random and unpredictable. The lucky break, the freak accident, the person you happen to sit next to on a plane who changes your life. It's the chaos factor that no amount of planning can eliminate.
The curveballs life throws at you.
Curveballs and the lottery tickets.
Yeah.
Then third is love. And Goethe means this in the broadest sense. Yes, romantic passion, which can obviously redirect an entire life, but also the deep, compelling love for a subject, for art, for a cause. It's the gravitational pull of desire that overrides logic and planning.
So it's the force of passion, the thing that makes you change your whole life plan for something or someone.
Exactly. The fourth is the big, heavy one, necessity. These are the iron rules of the universe, the things that are unchangeable. You are mortal. Gravity exists. Your past actions have present consequences. The laws of economics or physics. These are the hard boundaries of reality you have to operate within.
The non-negotiables.
The non-negotiables. And then finally, Goethe adds the fifth force, which is the key to making it all work. Hope. But for Goethe, hope isn't a passive, gentle feeling. Hadot describes it as a stubborn spark, a secret thrust. It's an active, willful force that you apply against the weight of necessity and the randomness of chance.
It's the engine.
It's the engine. It's the feather-light wings that keep you aloft when the other horse is trying to drag you down. So you see, when you look at your life through this 5-part lens, things start to make more sense. You stop blaming yourself for things that were simply chance.
Right. If you get laid off in a massive corporate downsizing, that's not a failure of your daemon, your inner genius. That's the intersection of chance and necessity.
And realizing that is incredibly freeing. It allows you to respond strategically instead of emotionally. You stop fighting battles. You can't win. That's accepting necessity. But you don't give up. That's applying hope and looking for where your daemon can thrive in the new circumstances.
Okay, but I have to push on this a little. The idea of necessity, these iron rules, could easily be misinterpreted, couldn't it? For someone facing, say, systemic poverty or discrimination in the U.S., being told that's just necessity could sound like a justification for inaction. It could sound like just accept your lot in life.
A brilliant and essential question, and Hadot's analysis is very clear on this. Goethe's concept of necessity is not about social or political fatalism. It's about distinguishing between what is truly immutable and what is a human-made construct that can be changed.
So the law of gravity is necessity. An unjust law passed by a government is not.
Exactly. The fact that you will one day die is necessity. The specific economic conditions of your neighborhood are a product of history, policy, and human choice. They are difficult constraints, but they are not an iron rule of the cosmos. In fact, fighting against injustice would be a perfect expression of your daemon fueled by hope, working to change a man-made condition.
So the framework actually empowers you to focus your energy where it can have an effect. Don't waste your life trying to become immortal, but do spend it trying to create a more just society.
You've nailed it. It's a tool for strategic application of your limited life force. And we see these forces playing out so vividly today. Think about the influencer and gig economy culture.
Oh, that's a perfect example.
It's a system built almost entirely on the tension between chance and necessity. A single viral video pure chance can make you a millionaire overnight. It feels like anything is possible.
But at the same time, you are completely at the mercy of the algorithm. That's necessity. The platform's rules are absolute. The market trends are ruthless. You have to produce content constantly just to stay relevant. It's this weird combination of total freedom and total servitude.
And people burn out because they don't understand the forces they're dealing with. They internalize the algorithm's indifference as a personal failure, a failure of daemon. They chase chance relentlessly, and they get crushed by necessity.
But with this framework, you could see it differently. You'd recognize the algorithm as an iron rule to be navigated, not a judgment on your worth. You'd treat a viral hit as a lucky break from chance, not proof of your genius. And you'd use hope as the fuel to keep creating authentically true to your daemon, regardless of the metrics.
It turns you from a pawn into a player, a co-pilot. You don't control the winds of chance or the gravity of necessity, but you can, with hope and a clear sense of your own daemon, steer the ship.
So we have the anchor in the mark. Now the perspective from above, and now the map of the forces here on the ground. It feels like we're building a complete toolkit.
We are, and there's just one piece left. The final attitude, the ultimate stance you take towards all of it.
Like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next. All right, this brings us to the final section, the culmination of all the other practices. And it sounds intense. Embracing the full roar, the yes to life and the world.
It is the crescendo. Hadot, in Chapter 4, frames this as Goethe's final, most profound spiritual achievement. It's the act of giving a full-throated, unconditional yes to the entirety of existence, not just the good parts, not just the beautiful and the successful, all of it.
Even the scary, destructive, painful parts.
Especially those parts. The images of Goethe in his 80s, his body failing, having outlived his son, having seen friends and lovers pass away, he's facing his own mortality. And his response isn't fear or resignation, it's this thunderous cheer, this defiant grin in the face of the void.
Hadot makes a critical distinction here, doesn't he? This isn't just passive acceptance, like, oh, well, that's life.
Not at all. That would be resignation. This is an active, joyful embrace. It's the difference between contentment with being, just accepting things as they are, and finding a deep thrill in the process of becoming. Goethe saw that life's very essence is flux, change, creation, and yes, destruction. To say yes to life means saying yes to the whole chaotic, beautiful, terrifying process.
It sounds a lot like Nietzsche's idea of amor fati, the love of one's fate, the challenge to live your life in such a way that you would be willing to repeat it exactly as it was for all eternity.
It's almost a direct philosophical precursor. Can you look at your biggest failure, your deepest heartbreak, your most shameful moment and say, yes, that too, I would not remove it because it forged me as part of the story? That is an incredibly high bar.
It is, and Hadot argues that you can't just jump to that state of mind. It's the result of mastering the other three exercises.
Exactly. It's a synthesis. You have to first learn to worship the now, to find the value in each moment. Then you need the view from above to contextualize your suffering and see it as part of a larger cosmic dance. Then you need the Urwort to understand the forces at play so you don't take it all personally.
And only after all that training can you genuinely, without delusion, look at the whole package of your life and say, yes,
I will devour it. That's the verb that keeps coming up. It's not about tasting life or enduring it. It's about devouring it. The emotional pivot here is it's mind-bending. It's the moment when the terror of change melts into an electric joy.
It's the realization that the moments that feel like they're breaking you are actually the moments that are making you. The scary becomes sacred.
The breakdown becomes the breakthrough. And This is so relevant for the world we live in right now, which is defined by massive, unpredictable change. We're looking at AI fundamentally reshaping our economy, climate instability, deep social and political polarization. The natural human impulse is to feel terror.
To resist it. To say, no, I want things to go back to the way they were.
Right. Let's take the AI disruption in the U.S. workforce. The fear of your job, your skills, your very identity being rendered obsolete by a machine is a profound and valid fear.
It's a huge source of anxiety.
Of course. And the Goethean response, as filtered through Hadot, is not to say, don't worry, it will be fine. It's to say, yes, this is happening. This is a moment of profound creative destruction. To fight it is to fight necessity, a losing battle. The challenge is to embrace the becoming, to find the sacred energy in the chaos.
So it's not about passively accepting that you'll be replaced. It's about actively engaging with the change. It's asking, okay, this new world is arriving. Who do I need to become to thrive in it? What new skills can I learn? What new value can I create?
It's finding fuel for resilience in the uncertainty itself. The ancient philosophers faced plagues, the fall of empires, brutal wars. They didn't have the luxury of stability. They understood that the greater the external chaos, the more vital the internal discipline of saying yes becomes. It's the ultimate act of spiritual sovereignty.
You're saying that whatever happens, you are ready to meet it, to engage with it, to learn from it, to devour it. You're not a victim of history. You're an active participant in its roaring unfolding.
That is the gift Hadot unearths from Goethe. The purpose of life is not to find a safe harbor and avoid storms. It's to become such a masterful sailor that you can find the thrill and the beauty even in the heart of the tempest. Say yes, and the world doesn't just happen to you. It blooms in your grip.
Wow, okay. That's a lot to take in. We've gone from the tiniest anchor in the present moment all the way to a cosmic embrace of everything.
It's a complete system for a life fully lived.
Let's try to bring it all together then. We've spent this time in a deep dive looking at
Right.
this warrior's training manual that Goethe developed and that Pierre Hadot has so brilliantly brought to light.
To quickly synthesize it, the four practices build on each other. First, we had the present worship,
Mhm.
the foundational discipline of anchoring your attention in the right here, right now, and finding the sacred in the mundane.
Then we move to the view from above perspective. That's the imaginative exercise of zooming out to a cosmic scale to shrink your ego's anxieties and gain a liberating sense of proportion.
From there, we came back to Earth with the Urwort navigation. The five primal forces, daemon, chance, love, necessity, and hope, which give us a map to understand the currents of our lives so we can navigate them as co-pilots, not as victims.
And all of that culminates in the final practice, the yes, acceptance. That full-throated, joyful, and active embrace of all of existence, the good and the bad, the creative and the destructive, the being and the becoming.
And this brings us right back to where we started. That devastating image of being on your deathbed and realizing too late that you were never really there for your own life, that you were sleepwalking. These four exercises are the antidote. They're the daily practice that inoculates you against a life of distraction.
It really is the difference between just being a piece of driftwood tossed around by the waves of life versus being the captain of the ship who knows the currents, who can read the stars, and who can steer with purpose, even in a storm.
A perfect analogy. So if we take Hadot and Goethe seriously, if we accept that living consciously is not a default setting but a rigorous daily training, then that leaves us and you with a final provocative thought.
And a very practical one.
Yes. What single unconscious habit, one that you've probably repeated thousands of times, one that isn't even really yours but something you absorbed from culture or family, what one habit are you willing to excise right now, today, to make space for one of these practices?
Is it the mindless 5-minute social media scroll that turns into 30? Is it the automatic complaint about the traffic, the mental rehearsal of an old argument?
Whatever it is, what if you traded that one unconscious habit for just 1 minute of worshiping the now? Or 1 minute of the view from above? That is the choice. That is where the life wasted in distraction ends and where the consciously lived life begins.
A powerful place to end. Go out there and start living.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration. Now go devour the life you've been given.
We'll catch you next time.